Good afternoon. In compliance with Chapter 551 Open Meetings of the Texas Government Code, I call to order a regular voting meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Austin Independent School District for Monday, August 24th, 2020 at 5:37 p.m. Pursuant to federal, state, and local mandates, and consistent with orders from the governor and the Texas Attorney General regarding open meetings during the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being conducted via video conference and is streaming live on AISD.TV, Facebook Live, and Apple TV. It is also being broadcast on cable channel 22 through Spectrum, Grande, Google Fiber TV, and on channel 99 through AT&T UVerse. Closed captioning in English is available on these platforms for the hearing impaired. To our audience tuning in remotely, welcome and thank you for joining us. We will move to the approval of the agenda. Secretary Ellens, do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
I do. The administration has requested the removal of item 10.6 from the agenda. That's the 2020, 2021, it's very hard. The budget development calendar. So I move approval of the agenda without item 10.6.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sorry, I'll reconnect. Trustee Letitia Anderson. Having a motion by Secretary Ellens and a second by Trustee Letitia Anderson to approve the agenda, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. The motion passes by all those on the dais. Secretary Ellens, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag?
Pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag of the United States of America
and to
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Juro lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
Now for the Texas pledge.
Right.
Honor the Texas
Under the
flag.
Texas flag,
I
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Te honro, bandera de Texas, te juro lealtad, Texas, un estado bajo Dios, uno e indivisible.
Thank you, trustees. We will now recess the open meeting at 5:39 p.m. and move to executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code sections 551.074 and 551.071. For purposes of this video meeting, the board will now leave this open meeting, which will remain live online and convene privately in a separate video meeting. When we're finished with our executive session, we will reconvene here. And again, we thank you for your patience. Good evening. We will now reconvene the open meeting at 8:12 p.m. And tonight, under the President's report, we have two items. The first one is on trustee communications with staff. And then I'll read a statement and then open it up to trustees if they'd like to say a few words. James Baldwin said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." Our board and new superintendent had a discussion in executive session regarding trustee communication with staff. And when we turn the mirrors on ourselves as leaders, The hope is we learn as imperfect human beings to ensure our values and our words align to our actions. And I apologize for being silent and not calling out the unprofessional trustee communication with staff. I've spoken with Trustee Matthias, Superintendent Elizalde, and Dr. Hawley, and all have the same hope that we can reset our communications focused on ensuring equity for every student and every child's academic success. After reflection, I want to end by sharing a poem about taking responsibility for creating a brave space by Mickey Scott Bay Jones. And it goes like this. Together, we will create brave space because there's no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars and we have all caused wounds in this space. We seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. This space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side. And trustees, if I'll recognize any of the trustees that would like to make a comment. Oh, you know what? I'm not a host. I apologize. I'm not one of the hosts, so I can't see who's raised their hand. Trustee Ann Tice and then Trustee Wagner, I see you were raising your hands, and then I'll go back to, now I am the co-host. Apologize.
Thank you, Trustee Rodriguez, for what you said. I also want to offer my own apologies for not responding in real time to the remarks made to one of our staff members by one of our board members at our meeting several weeks ago. I realized that my silence created hurt and distrust in the community. I should have followed my usual practice of caution in calling out staff members or board members in a disrespectful way and in a public way. I will work hard to remember my responsibility for cultivating a culture of dignity and respect.
Thank you, Trustee Tice. Trustee Wagner.
I think it's challenging sitting on a dais to always know exactly the right thing to say in the moment. And the past couple of weeks have served as a time of reflection. I appreciate the phone calls I've received that have helped me, as well as conversations with board colleagues that have helped me understand how silence in a moment can have at times more power than words that are spoken. And for that, I apologize if my silence 2 weeks ago caused any hurt in the community. And I hope that I can be a better model for anyone watching this and for our students and for the kind of culture that we seek to create in this district of respect for one another. And that is my commitment. And you have my promise that I will try to improve.
Thank you, Trustee Wagner. Trustee Ashe and then Trustee Ellens.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. I, too, would like to echo my apologies at my silence. I think that it is always a struggle to try to find the right words. And in my hesitation, I found no words. And as a teacher, I always want to, I always have recognized that modeling is one of the strongest things you can do. You model your behavior for others to follow. And I will continue to be self-reflective and be sure that I am continuing to treat all of our staff, all of our families, all of our students with the utmost of dignity and respect. And again, issue my sincerest apologies that my silence may have caused any pain to anyone in our community.
Thank you, Trustee Ashe. Trustee Ellens, and then Trustee Cindy Anderson.
I really want to thank you, President Rodriguez, for a lovely statement, and Trustee Letitia Anderson for really helping us all understand some of the hurt that might have been caused. So I too will continue to commit to do better. And I do believe it is a belief of myself, but also the full board, to model the respect that we hope our entire district is doing for our community. And so with that in mind, I also commit to continuing to improve in this way. And thank you for the opportunity to do so. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Anderson.
I also appreciate President Rodriguez's statement, and also Trustee Letitia Anderson's sharing during executive session as to how we may have individually and also collectively contributed to hurt and mistrust in the community. I do believe that as trustees, we are held to a higher standard. And it, you know, as many of my colleagues have mentioned, it is often very difficult. And it's not an excuse, it's just a reality of trying to be responsive in the moment. And we don't always get it right. I myself obviously didn't get it right either. And I do sincerely apologize for not saying anything. And all I can do is promise that I am going to be self-reflective. I am going to attempt moving forward to do a better job at modeling the behavior that I would expect from many of our students, from any of our staff, and from our community members. As adults, we have to, I think, really, again, model that behavior that everyone deserves, no matter who it is that comes before this board, whether they're happy with us or not. Everybody deserves a culture of respect and dignity. So I apologize for that and look forward to more opportunities to prove ourselves in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Singh.
So first, I just want to apologize to Dr. Hawley for not standing up for her when I had the chance. I have learned a lesson, and I'll try to do better. As a board, all of us, including myself, really need to have the courage to hold a mirror up to ourselves and always try to do better. You know, really, as painful as this incident has been, I do think that I really hope that from it rises a call to action for a call to action for an equity assessment, a call for intensive board training on cultural inclusiveness and cultural proficiency, and a call for the board to work closely with our brand new superintendent to co-create a scorecard that will improve opportunities and outcomes for all of our students, and particularly for our marginalized students. So really that's on us as a board, and I know we can do better. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Mathias.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. 2 words, I apologize. We remain human. I remain available at my cell number, which is public knowledge. So would want anyone to feel free to call, and be happy to invite you to breakfast or coffee or lunch to discuss any concerns. Certainly, you can imagine the conversations that we have as board members among ourselves, and how it is that the disrespect that has been showed toward various staff members during various meetings is something that we would all like to continue to overcome. Sí se puede.
Trustees, any other comments? I just want to make sure. I think I'm now a co-host and can see all the hands raised. I apologize. Under the president's report, there, I also wanted to just share a few more words on around a welcome statement to Dr. Elizalde. And I'm going to read that in English and Spanish here, and then invite trustees again to share their thoughts. On August 11th, the Board of Trustees, oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Letitia Anderson, I don't know if you had your hand up or not. I just saw you pop up on the square.
I didn't have my hand up, but I mean, it's been very humbling to hear everyone apologize, and I really appreciate that. It's hard being the only African American trustee up here, and you know, as I've told so many people, and will reiterate again, I apologize for being silent. Like I'm humble enough to say that. I should have spoken up, and rest assured it won't happen again. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Anderson. The second item is a welcome to our new superintendent. On August 11th, the Board of Trustees officially welcomed Dr. Stephanie Elizalde to Austin ISD as the new superintendent. Her dedication has been on display since before she arrived, as she took part in several community meetings where she fielded questions in English and Spanish. In her first 13 days, I should say calendar days, that includes weekends, she has not had time to rest. She has dived into the reopening process, continuing the discussions on how to get technology to our students, preparing a virtual curriculum, and making sure we're taking every precaution possible to ensure the safety of our 12,000 staff members and 81,000 students. Dr. Elizalde has demonstrated her firm commitment to building relationships with our community while listening to gain a deeper understanding of our strengths, challenges, and opportunities as a district. She has shown that she is the right person at the right time. We are proud to welcome Dr. Elizalde to her first official board meeting as superintendent of the Austin Independent School District. Y en español, ya. El 11 de agosto, la mesa directiva dio la bienvenida oficialmente a la directora Stephanie Elizalde a Austin ISD como nuestra nueva superintendente. Ella ha demostrado su dedicación desde antes de su llegada, ya que participó en varias reuniones comunitarias donde respondió preguntas en inglés y en español. En sus primeros 13 días, incluyendo la fin de semanas, no ha tenido el lujo de descansar. Ella se ha sumergido en el proceso de reapertura, continuando las discusiones importantes sobre cómo llevar la tecnología a nuestros estudiantes, preparando un plan de estudios virtual y asegurándose de que tomemos todas las precauciones posibles para garantizar la seguridad de nuestros 12,000 empleados y nuestros 81,000 estudiantes. La doctora Elizalde ya ha demostrado su compromiso de construir relaciones con nuestra comunidad mientras escuchar para obtener una comprensión más profunda de nuestras fortalezas, desafíos y oportunidades como distrito. Ella ha demostrado que es la persona adecuada en el momento adecuado. Estamos orgullosos de dar la bienvenida a la doctora Elizalde a su primera reunión oficial de la mesa directiva como superintendente del Distrito Escolar Independiente de Austin. Muchas felicidades, doctora Elizalde. Congratulations, Dr. Elizalde.
Thank you. Gracias.
Oh, trustees, if you have any additional comments, would be happy to recognize you. Trustee Tice.
Well, I'm not going to say welcome again because we've done that. What I want to say is a word of appreciation to you for reaching out to and engaging with stakeholders so quickly. I've been impressed with that. You answered a community questionnaire. I've been impressed with that too. You've also taken hold of the reins of the district firmly, and I'm hearing really good reports from staff and from community members. So I appreciate your taking on this job, and I look forward to working with you.
Trustee Letitia Anderson.
I just want to say in our conversations, I mean, I'm looking forward to the future. I have no doubt that we both will work for the betterment of the students in Austin ISD. And I'm also looking forward to a conversation with coaches in my district. So I hope you're available for that. Thank you.
Dr. Elizalde, I know the superintendent's report is next, but I'd welcome any comments from you.
I'm ready to meet with the coaches, Trustee Letitia Anderson. We will work through it all.
I'm ready.
Trustee Evans.
Well, just in case the majority of the public wasn't watching when we approved your contract, I do want to welcome you again. It is very exciting to have kind of some new energy, and we are excited about your leadership, and already I've seen such amazing work. I have to say, I feel like you have been here much longer than 2 weeks. So I'm sure you do too. And we look forward to really embracing 2020, 2021 with new verve. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Ellens. I know Trustee Cindy Anderson's computer froze and she just came in. I just want to make sure if she has a comment to make, we recognize her. If Cindy, we're on the welcome part of Dr. Elizalde. I just want to make sure. I know your computer froze, so I just wanted to give you an opportunity in case you wanted to.
Well, I was listening on my phone while I was trying to get back on, so I'm just going to say ditto while I try to get set back up. I apologize. The internet is not my friend tonight.
Thank you. Well, next on our agenda is under the superintendent's report, preparing for the reopening. Dr. Elizalde, again, welcome.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. Good evening, trustees. Thank you again for this opportunity. Before we actually get to our reopening plans, we do have an homage to one of our team members, and I would like to turn this back over to you, President Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Elizalde. I'd like to recognize Trustee Ann Teich for some words.
So these words are in memory and in honor of Robert Mata, Sr., who was born November 20th, 1953, and passed from this world July 23rd, 2020. Tonight, we honor the life of Robert Mata, Sr., beloved crossing guard for the Barrington Elementary School Mustangs, a school I had the honor to represent. Mr. Mata was a father, a veteran, and a friend to all. He was a longtime part of our Austin ISD family. He graduated from Crockett High School in 1972 And for the last 17 years, Mr. Mata was a pillar in our community as he faithfully watched over every person who crossed the corner of Glen Lane and Cooper Drive in Austin, Texas. The Mata family is a part of the Barrington School family. Mr. Mata's children and grandchildren attended Barrington Elementary, and he watched over all the children as if they were his own. Every morning, Mr. Mata greeted the community with a warm smile, and every evening he was the last community well-wisher. Mr. Mata served our families through the Texas heat, wind, rain, and cold. Mr. Mata's life of service included helping all children in Austin. He always lent a helping hand at Coats for Kids, and every year he collected school supplies for the back-to-school bash. Robert Mata is survived by his loving wife, Delia Mata, at 46 years. Mrs. Mata, we express our deepest condolences to you and your family. Your husband is deeply missed by the community he served and the families he helped keep safe. We mourn his loss and celebrate his life. Thank you for sharing him with us.
Thank you, Trustee Taish. Unto the family of Mr. Mata, los acompañamos en su pesar. Superintendent Gonzalez.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. It would be for me to read the homage in Spanish for our team member, Mr. Mata, as well. En un homenaje a Robert Mata Padre, 20 de noviembre de 1953 al 20 de 2020. Esta noche honramos la vida de Robert Mata, padre, nuestro estimado guardia de cruce peatonal de los Mustangs de la Escuela Primaria Barrington. El señor Mata fue padre de familia, veterano y amigo. Por mucho tiempo fue parte de nuestra familia de Austin ISD. Robert Mata se graduó de la Escuela Preparatoria Crockett en 1972. Durante los últimos 17 años, el señor Mata fue un pilar en nuestra comunidad. Él veló fielmente por la seguridad de todas las personas que cruzaron por la esquina de Glen Lane y Cooper Drive en Austin, Texas. La familia Mata es parte de la familia de la Escuela Barrington. Los hijos y los nietos del señor Mata asistieron a la primaria Barrington y cuidó a todos los niños como si fueran los suyos. Todas las mañanas el señor Mata saludaba a la comunidad con una cálida sonrisa y todas las tardes era quien le deseaba a la comunidad lo mejor el final del día. El señor Mata sirvió a nuestras familias sin importar el calor, el viento, la lluvia y el frío de Texas. Su vida de servicio incluyó la ayuda a todos los niños de Austin. Siempre ofreció su ayuda en Coats for Kids y cada año recolectó útiles escolares para el Back to School Bash, celebración de regreso a clases. Robert Mata, padre, deja a su amada esposa, Delia Mata, de 46 años. Señora Mata, le expresamos nuestras más profundas condolencias a usted y su familia, la comunidad y la que sirvió su esposo y las familias a las que ayudó a mantenerse a salvo, lo extrañan. Lamentamos su pérdida y celebramos su vida. Gracias por compartirlo con nosotros.
Thank you, Dr. Elizalde.
Thank you, President Rodriguez. At this time, I would like to bring us some information regarding our upcoming reopening. And I'm not sure who's monitoring the slides, so I'm going to ask if we could go to the next slide. I thought it would be important, as I recognize many in our communities are wondering what is going on during the time that we actually haven't had children in instructional settings. And you know what the saying is, a picture paints 1,000 words. So I wanted to spend a couple of minutes highlighting the dedication of the numerous staff members that we have throughout our entire district who are continuing to provide, as you can see, over 1 million meals served since March 13, partnering with the City of Austin in the Caregiver Meal Program, and then also the free local produce distribution. This is just a glimpse into our food service. Next slide, please. You may be wondering why we're showing you classroom layouts. Well, because these desks didn't arrive there by themselves. It took staff members to help space them out 6 feet apart, facing the same direction, in order for us to ensure that we have the proper social distancing and the proper protocols in place prior to our staff and our students ultimately returning to our classrooms. So this is another shout out to our planning and assessment management teams who are ensuring that this continues. Next slide, please. Also know that the huge success that the Austin Independent School District had with regard to securing the largest bond is generating 3 new school buildings. We have Bear Creek, Blazier, and Doss. Next slide, please. And our service centers, ensuring that that PPE gets delivered, gets inventoried, gets sorted, and then re-delivered back out to the appropriate locations. This is just a sampling of the activities that are ongoing every day in our district. Next slide, please. From a technology aspect, ensuring that, you know, sometimes we think we receive the devices and they just get distributed back to our students, but they have to be inventoried. Software has to be loaded. There's a number of activities that take place before we can deliver those back out to our students. So again, just another shout out to another department that's continuing to put students first. And our last slide for this particular section is to celebrate the modified team that created what would have been the Back to School Bash, and it was converted now to the School Backpack Bash. Say that 3 times fast. And what we see is we did not allow our circumstances to stop providing these services to students. We're going to continue to move forward. Our team is nimble. Let me tell you, trustees, you have a very flexible group of people, always starting with students. And I am just humbled and honored to be able to join that team. As we keep this last slide up, I also want to mention that we are putting out a communication for all of our staff members with regard to our reopening in September. We recognize that these are very trying times, and we also recognize that we must continue with safety first, planning for the receiving of our students, utilizing the guidance from both the City of Austin as well as the county orders, and keeping in mind, trustees, that I always have to think long-term about our budget. We all recognize that next year, we have no idea what impact will have this COVID pandemic will have on our overall state budget. So while some decisions may seem to be, well, let's just decide this right now, we have to think about the long-term impact of the decisions that we're making. So with that, I am pleased to announce that it is absolutely our intent to have students remain remote, as stated earlier, September 8th through October 2nd, with the district providing devices and connectivity for every student that needs such. In addition to that, we will begin encouraging, but still a choice, of having our teachers use best practices for providing instructional delivery in their classroom settings. We know that that provides, in many instances, the best place to deliver instruction. However, during the first openings, September 8th, we will have, in order to remain in guidelines with our city and state, and our county, we will have no more than 25% of the building capacity utilized at any one time during the first 2 weeks of our 4 weeks. What we have found from our neighboring schools, our neighboring school districts, is that ensuring that teachers can come back and utilize the protocols, we must think of reopening our schools as turning the dimmer switch rather than turning the switch on off. So we want to use phases as we come back to our schools. We recognize that there is no one right decision and there's plenty of wrong ones. So we are going to continue to gather the best information, looking at data. We visit weekly with city officials, medical experts, and yes, we will make decisions based on data. We have been in communication with our organization, our employee organization, and have assured them that for the first 4 weeks, we will be in a phase in where we are not mandating, but rather encouraging our teachers where possible to utilize our classrooms. I have met with our 13 principal vertical leads and had a wonderful conversation this morning, and we will continue our communication plan. I did prepare a letter for our Austin ISD team so that they would have the information in a written format. And as I indicated, I met with our principals who will then ensure that that information continues to be flowed to their team members. I am in the process of working out a very defined communication plan that I will be sharing with the trustees in my Friday board update so that you will now know what the cadence and the sequence of communication that will be taking place. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Elizalde. Trustees, any questions? Trustee Singh?
Thank you so much, Dr. Elizalde, for that report. I loved the pictures and just really appreciate all of our staff for everything that they've been doing behind the scenes. It's incredible to see that. So I had a couple of questions for you. One is, what do you have a sense of what our enrollment numbers are right now compared to this time last year?
There's really no way to know that other than the fact that we're continuing to reach students as we want to make sure that we have the devices. So I would say within another, unfortunately, it'll probably be right up until we open. But our campuses are currently reaching out to each and every student that we have on our rosters. And the numbers are still, I would not want to commit myself to any number. I would ask you, what I can do is make a note and I can include the best estimate that we have in our board update on Friday as well. I can do that. I can tell you what information we have, and that way all the trustees will have that information.
I appreciate that. And if I heard you correctly, you said that we were not going to have more than 25% of students in a campus. Was that for the first 4 weeks or 2 weeks? I'm not sure if I heard you.
So I'm going to start the first 2 weeks, and I'm going to restate it. We're following the guidelines, which is 25% capacity of the building. Keep in mind, we won't have students in our building. but it will be up to 25% of the building capacity. So essentially, staff members who want to come
Okay.
can come up to 25% of the building capacity. In many instances, that means every staff member could probably come and we would not be at 25% of our capacity. Because remember, if you think about a campus, and I'll use an example, if the school has 400 children, and then you think about the additional teachers and support staff, 25% of even 400 would be 100. And so we would have no more than 100, which we would not have that many staff members. But the caveat here is we must, and this has to be a must. I almost rarely like to use the word must, shall, mandate, but where we do not practice the social distancing, the masking, and the hand hygiene, wherever that has occurred, we clearly see that there are issues. Where we do follow them, we also conversely are able to see the contagiousness of it is reduced greatly. Will it be perfect? It will not be perfect. But we do know that that is why we're beginning with the 25%, and that would be for 2 weeks. And I wouldn't change that until I know how we do within those 2 weeks. I want to gather data and inform myself before I decide what we would do the next 2 weeks.
And thank you for that explanation. And from my understanding, we do have to allow, if a student shows up at a campus on September 8th, the first day of school, and they do not have technology or internet access at home, we are required to allow them to come into the school and be served. Is that correct?
Not exactly.
Okay.
We're required to provide connectivity and a device. And so I am first committed to committing ourselves to the device and the connectivity. However, if we cannot provide the connectivity and the device, let's say that the number that we are anticipating arriving even tomorrow do not arrive, then yes, I would be required to ensure that we provide instruction in a different format in the classroom.
Okay. And so if a child shows up on the first day anyway, and even if they have computers and an internet connection at home, what do we do then? Would we just say, we're really, sorry, but you have to go back home? Like what does that look like?
So as you can imagine, and as your question is very poised to ask, this is a struggle for all of us.
Yeah.
Every single one of us wants to provide what we think a child needs. However, in this circumstance, we must look at safety of the entire organization, as this is unlike any other time we have had. So let me be as clear as I can be, because I think it's necessary. We will never, ever, if a child shows up, we are not going to not take care of our children. That's not the Austin ISD way, and we would not do that. However, it is highly, highly discouraged, and we would have to make a phone call during the day while we're serving the child to ensure this would not become we would do, because there would be no way for us to know whether I'm going to have the appropriate number of adults to supervise our children. Our biggest concern, if you ask principals and teachers what's keeping them up at night after taking care of their families and after taking care of themselves, their biggest concern is children showing up on campuses without adult supervision. And so I want to take this time to really ask our families that I know the sacrifices they're having to make, and I am asking them to please continue to make them, so that we can ensure, here's the goal. If we have a start and then stop, and then start and then stop, those of us, and there's many of you on this board who have been teachers, you don't just pick up from where you left off with children. You have to review the last bit of information, the last protocols, the last routines. You don't just start where you left off, which means we lose instructional time. It is important to me that we work collectively to ensure that when we start, we can stay open. And that's going to require all of us to have to unfortunately make some sacrifices that I know are very difficult for our families.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the concerns about safety. So one of the things that's happening in Austin right now is this wonderful growing coalition of organizations and individuals who are trying to create some equity in childcare and learning pods and things like that. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Leonor Vargas and to Katie and Katie. I'm sorry, I forgot your last name. It's slipping my mind right now. But who presented today and talked to us about this model where we'd be partnering with community organizations, or letting parents know about community organizations that might be providing some sort of free childcare or tutoring or something to help parents along. And I just wanted to just support that and see if that has been something that has been on your radar, Dr. Elizalde. I know you've only been here for 2 weeks, but just wanted to see, because that, as you know, I'm sure childcare is such a huge concern for so many of our families. So just want to get your take.
I was a part of the meeting today where Leonor did in fact bring the San Francisco model that is being utilized there. And so we are absolutely in support of it. We certainly have our own, some limitations, but we have extended materials, supplies, professional development, and we can be the connector for these organizations that are working so hard to do their best to create equitable opportunities for all of our students, regardless of what part of our community they live in. So we will continue to partner in every way that we can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Letitia Anderson.
I have 2 quick questions. My first question is, are in these conversations with public health, are we being asked to do any kind of contact tracing or at least documenting, so God forbid somebody catches COVID?
Yes, ma'am. We absolutely are expected to do that, and we have been doing that since I joined. Lexi Copeland gives me a report every single day if anyone has been identified, and then the individuals that might have had any contact and whether they do or don't meet the definition according to the health guidelines. Because just because you had some contact doesn't automatically mean that you're required. There's specific definitions, and we're using the health department's definition, and we are absolutely on it. And I will also tell you that TEA has also now requested that we turn those numbers into them. And so we will continue. Fortunately, we already have a reporting mechanism, but we're going to be required to share with the state as they want to collect the data around the state of Texas.
Wonderful. And my second question is, do we have a plan should on September the 8th, we have, I know you're saying 25% of the capacity of the school, but should we have more than that actually show up who want to physically go to school? Do we have a plan for that? You're on mute.
I turned it off instead of turning it on. It's probably because I didn't want to have to answer that question, Trustee Letitia Anderson. The truth is, I mean, we have a plan. The plan would be that we have to deploy any of our staff from central office to campuses that are going to be in need of support should that many students show up, which is why we are contacting every single individual student by phone. And then I'll have a list of individual students who we haven't been able to contact. And if we need to go do some visits, of course, practicing our protocols of safety, but nonetheless, we need to know. We cannot be surprised by how many individuals show up on September 8th. Because again, I want to use this platform to say, for the safety of everyone, I need all parents, guardians to do everything they can to keep their students at home for remote instruction. As long as I'm providing, as long as we are providing the device and the connectivity, I am imploring our community to stay in a remote setting for the first 4 weeks so that we can truly get below that 5% positivity rate so that we could actually then reopen schools in the manner that we could. That is also why we're contacting every single one of our staff members to see who is intending to come so that we would be, and that can change, right? Because I can think today that I'm coming and then I am exposed to someone next week. Well, now I'd have to remove myself from saying I'm coming. So it's a fluid data set, but our staff are doing tremendous work. Our teachers are doing great work in both helping us in creating lessons and then responding with helping us contact individuals in the professional development. So I will tell you that I feel cautiously optimistic that we are going to be in a good place come September 8th.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, trustees. Any other questions? Dr. Elizalde, thank you so much for the report. And we look forward to seeing the update on Friday. We now move to public testimony for items on consent agenda and items for separate vote. In order to accommodate our video conference format, members of the public wishing to participate in the public testimony portion of our meeting called a dedicated AISD phone line in advance of the meeting and audio recorded their remarks. We will now play those recordings, so please listen carefully.
Hello, my name is Maggie McGiffert, and I'm speaking on the consent item 11.2, Administrator Contracts for 2021. I'm a parent of 2 Blanton Elementary students and 1 Northeast High School student. According to recent STAR test outcomes and other data sources, 67% of Black children and 60% of Latinx children in AISD are not at grade level. Considering COVID-19, these disparities will only get worse. Meanwhile, our equity office, which was started to address these very disparities, continues to be unsupported by the board, with our chief equity officer having no contract and still having unable to fill 3 vacant positions. There needs to be at least a 2-year contract for the equity officer, and these vacant positions need to be filled by this October. Anything less than that reiterates to our community that racial equity is not a priority for AISD. Considering the unchecked anti-Black and misogynist comments from Trustee Mathias in a recent meeting, the situation with the equity office is not a surprise. But if you truly value equity, give the equity officer stability with a contract and staff to do this important work. Fix it now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Sepulvado. I am a proud Education Austin member at Crockett High School. I live and vote in here. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it's safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their worth. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls Austin ISD home. Hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now.
My name is Barbarita Ryder, and I am an employee at Galindo Elementary School. I live and vote in Trustee Alenz's district, and I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. I'm asking that until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses, though those of us that work in the front office have already been required to report to campuses. Also, those of us that are classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of our base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. I am very concerned about having to report to the campus once students are given given the option of returning, we can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Please, please reconsider allowing students to report to the campus starting September the 8th. Thank you for your.
Hello, my name is Miranda Hewlett. I teach at Crockett High School and I live in the district. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Trustees, please make the executive decision for schooling to remain remote and stick to that decision. The uncertainty and inconsistency of these plans that have been happening for the last several months, these plans that only span a few weeks at a time and tell us to wait and see, they make us less effective teachers. Please make the decision to stay remote and let us plan accordingly for that decision. Our lives and the student lives and the quality of their education are more important than money. You can follow ACC's lead. Make the decision to allow we qualified and hardworking teachers to provide the high-quality virtual instruction for this fall semester. Pushing for in-person instruction before the vaccine is available is reckless, and it puts money above human life. For those who must go to campus, please provide hero pay and flexible leave for those who fall ill. It is the least you can do. Thank you.
My name is Tracy Dunlap, and I'm a proud Education Austin member at Maplewood. I live and vote in Trustee Mathias's district. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of the base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. All means all, AISD. Hear us loud and clear. Instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now.
Hi, my name is Kynan Murtaugh, and I'm a proud Education Austin member at Travis ECHS. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. We need a commitment to the union's demands for reopening. That means we need to know the criteria for students returning to physical school well in advance of October. Y'all need to decide this quickly. We also need hero pay for our classified staff, especially as 6-year veteran bus drivers, as of last Thursday, are being paid less than the starting wage for new bus drivers to sit in unair-conditioned Wi-Fi buses in 100-degree weather for hours, despite there being no students. I mean this very kindly, but it is difficult to trust y'all's ostensibly heartfelt condolences over the deaths of Manuel Alvarado and Patricia Hernandez when our classified staff are currently being asked to be on campus or in sweltering buses, not getting hero pay, and whose wishes and safety always seem to be the first to be ignored. I was over the essential/expendable dichotomy in March. Please don't let there be any ambiguity. Thank you.
Hello, I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. Until health data reports that the 14-day positivity rate is below 5%, there should be no physical return to our school campuses. And hero pay, which is for classified employees, should be double the rate of base pay because of their sacrifice in returning to the physical workspaces in our district.
Hi, my name is Michelle Gonzalez, and I am a proud Education Austin member at Perez Elementary. I live and vote in Jeronimo Rodriguez's district. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us that it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it is safe, and hero pay now.
Hi, my name is Megan Kite, and I'm the librarian at Pleasant Hill Elementary. I live and vote in Yasmin Wagner's district, and I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it's safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to the district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls Austin ISD home.
Hi, my name is Diego, and I'm a member of the Education Austin. And I live and vote in Jamie Matias district, and I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. And what I believe is that we should not reopen schools until we're able to prove that it's safe to do so based on public data. And I think that if we do reopen schools, we would be putting not only the teachers and students at risk, but also the students' family members at home who will be in contact with the students. And these people are all going to be high risk. Many of these people are going to be high risk, and it's only going to be make all the problems we currently have worse. I think that we should keep students at home, keep virtual instruction, and then I also think that for any employees that do have to go to the school should be paid twice as much.
Hi, my name is Alex Murphy, and I'm a proud Education Austin member at Murchison Middle School. I live and vote in President Rodriguez's district, and I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Listen, until public health data tells us that it's safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. This is the only way to keep our staff, our students, and our community safe. Classified employees who perform duties essential to the district should also be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. They're putting their lives on the line, and they deserve to be compensated for that. We can also provide, as teachers, high-quality virtual instruction to every AISD student, and we can make sure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear tonight, my friends. Virtual instruction only until it's safe to return, and hero pay now. Thank you.
Yes, my name's Holly Herzer, Herzer, and I don't want to go back to face-to-face school until we have under 5% cases and we can test every day. So that's what I think, and that's what I'm telling you. So my name's Holly Herzer, Herzer, Texas, Murchison Middle School.
Hi, my name is Laura Fry, and I'm a proud Education Austin member at Langford Elementary. I live and vote in Yasmin Wagner's District 7, and I work in District 2 under Jaime Mathias. Until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize their risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD their home. Hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it is safe, and hero pay now. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Omar Izaguirre, and I'm a bus driver, and I feel that we are not ready to go back to the school. Mi nombre es Omar Izaguirre y soy un conductor de buses escolares y siento que no estamos listos para regresar físicamente al trabajo. Gracias.
Hello, my name is Amy Rowland White, and I'm a proud Education Austin member at Anderson High School. I live in Vogt in, I think, Julie Cowan's district. I know Julie, she's great. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to the district operation should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it is safe, and hero pay now. Thanks a lot. Please make a good choice, you guys. We're depending on you.
Hello, my name is John Cochran, and I'm a member of TCTA at Murchison Middle School. I vote in District 4, and I'm leaving comments for consent item 12.2. I would just like to say that until public health data shows that it is safe for large groups of people to congregate and reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only and avoid physically reporting to Austin ISD campuses. Without that data, we risk the health of teachers and students and the families of both. Additionally, classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay, and that should be at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less degrades the importance of the dangerous work they do. It's the least we can do to recognize the risks they are taking. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and at the same time ensure our community remains safe. We must protect.
Hi, my name is Ariel Kay, and I'm a proud Education Austin member at Go Valley Elementary. I live and vote in Jamie Mathias's district. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we have to provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home.
Hi, my name is Marie Guerrero, and I'm a proud Education Austin member at Murchison Middle School. I live in Wagner's district, and I work in Ashey's district. My daughter's a student at Small Middle School. I'm commenting on action item 12.2. With universities in Austin opening up, our community will be more vulnerable to COVID infection. Until public health data tells it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ann Livingston, and I'm a member of Education Austin. I live and vote in Kristen Ashey's district, number 4, and I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. I don't believe that it's safe to reopen our schools until public health data tells us it is safe. I feel we should provide virtual instruction only, and that no teacher should be physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties that are essential to our district's operations, I feel should be paid hero pay, and I'd like to have them paid twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is basically the least we can do to recognize the rise of their work or the risk of their work. All right, we can provide high quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe by continuing with virtual learning. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Please hear us loud and clear, virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay for all of our classified essential employees. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Justin Irwin. I'm a proud Education Austin member at Padrona Elementary. I live and vote in Trustee Tykes District. I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. I don't think we should return in-person classes until public health data tells us it's safe to do so. So I would like a commitment from the district to reopen only when there's less than a 5% positivity rate for 14 days. I also would like to ask that classified employees who are being required to report in person and who are doing work to keep all of us safe and are putting themselves at greater risk receive hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. I think it's the least we can do to recognize the risk and the work they're doing for us right now. As far as instruction, it is ideal to do it in person, but I don't think we can risk our students, their families, and our employees' health right now to rush back. We can continue to provide virtual education to all students to ensure that our community remains safe. So again, online or in-person classes only when it's safe, and hero pay. Thanks for considering my comments.
Hi, my name is Minda Anderson, and I'd like to comment on action item 12.2, extension of COVID-19 emergency resolution. I'm a nationally board certified teacher librarian, and this is my 10th year at Becker Elementary. I cannot wait to see my kids. I cannot wait to be together. However, it is not yet safe. So I'd like to request that the board approve no physical return until the 14-day positivity rate is below 5%. I'd also like to request hero pay for our hourly workers who are having to return to the physical workplace and put themselves and their families in danger. I'd also like to know when the superintendent is going to apply to TEA for the waiver for the additional 4 weeks of remote learning that the board has already approved. Thank you, Superintendent and board, for your work.
Yes, my name is Christine Blacklock. I would like to comment on the action item of returning to in-person learning for school. I would like to recommend a 14-day positivity rate below 5% before we return to in-person classes in the school building. I also would like to advocate for hero pay for hourly employees who must return to the school prior to that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diane Collier, and I'm a proud member of Education Austin and the staff at Galindo Elementary. I live and vote in District 5, and I'm commenting today on consent item 12.2. We were all led to believe that the school board had given us 4 weeks of virtual instruction to keep all safe. Yet, classified staff have already been asked to report to campuses, and teachers are being asked to decide and commit to show up in person on September 8th if they don't have medical or FMLA accommodations. Every day, teachers use data to guide instruction. Why are we not using a clear data benchmark to determine when to resume in-person operations? We should not be working in person until we have more evidence that community spread has diminished, and the classified employees that are performing essential duties and working now should be compensated with hero pay. AISD must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member. Hear us loud and clear, virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now.
Hello, my name is Lisa Flores. I'm an AIC parent, and my comments are about item 10.8. I would like to ask the board resume having public, open board operations meetings. It would have been really helpful to understand the decision-making and considerations that went into item 10.8, especially given there was no prior information session. While I recognize and support the need for contractor services to serve children, I also know there's been an unusual high number of special education resignations that necessitate this need. I would like to ask the board commit to examining authentically the reason for the loss of so many staff. Contractors may be an immediate solution, but looking at the root causes to address staff retention must also be a simultaneous commitment with a concentration on authentic staff and community engagement. I would prefer to have an information session on this item, but realize that probably won't happen. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pedro Camayo. I'm a proud Education Austin member at Palm Elementary. I live and vote in District 2. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tell us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physical reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything else is unacceptable. Given them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now.
Hi, my name is Jessica Gonzalez, and I am a proud Education Austin member at Murchison Middle School. I live and vote in the District 4 district. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physical reopening to campuses. Classified staff who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is absolutely the least we can do to recognize the risk that they are doing. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe.
Hello, my name is Sharon Marroquin. I'm a bilingual instructional coach at Becker Elementary and at Linder Elementary. I am calling about agenda item 12.2, and I'm calling in support of teachers and staff not having to physically return to campus until it is absolutely safe. And I understand that this is when we have a 14-day positivity rate below 5%. I'm also calling to support hero pay for those employees who need to return to the physical workplace. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jenny Pena, and I am a member of Martin Middle School. I live and vote in District 4, Ashes District. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Here's loud and clear, virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now.
Hi, my name is Kobe Cooper, and this is a reference to 12.2, the extension of COVID-19 emergency resolution. I'm calling to let you know that as a teacher, I feel that It is not safe to return to work, and that if we're going to do remote learning, that needs to be for all teachers and not just some. I feel that the questionnaire that was given was misleading and made us feel that we had to choose between resigning and coming back, and that this 90% of teachers that said that they would return. Most of us want stipulations such as a level 2 pandemic for 14 days before returning. Also, as a special education teacher, how am I supposed to provide physical restraints for students who are being safe and who require them while also socially distancing? This has not been addressed, and it's only a week and a half until school starts. Also, I work with students who spit and cough at others on purpose. This is an issue.
My name is Jessica Zuniga. I'm a proud Education Austin member, commenting on the consent of item 12.2. I have had to enter the school as a classified employee, risking myself. We are setting up the school to have school ready for when the students return. I wish that it would be more on a voluntary basis and not more of a requirement that we're having to go into the school. I'm a classified employee and I work at Perez Elementary. We have had to go in all last week and all this week to help prep for the school, and I just wish that it would be a voluntary basis and not a requirement. It's a very scary situation, putting all my loved ones at risk and still receiving the same pay that we're receiving, going in with different expectations as new roles COVID. So it's a very scary situation, still entering the school, same pay. Could be life-threatening, very scary situation, and that's all I have to say about it.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Davis. I'm a proud Education Austin member at Murchison Middle School. I'm calling in regard to the public health data that tells us that it's safe to reopen schools and we should provide virtual instruction only without physical reporting to campus until the health data signifies that it's okay for us to do so. Classified employees perform duties, and I am a classified employee essential to district operation and should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving us hero pay is the absolute least the district can do to recognize the risk of our health, of our work. We provide high-quality virtual instruction. We can provide this high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear, virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now.
Hi, my name is Melissa Cooper. I teach at Murchison, and my son is a senior at Anderson. I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses until Austin and Travis County's community risk status drops to stage 1, in which gatherings larger than 25 are permitted. In addition, classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. I miss my students and families, and my son is missing out on the traditional senior year, but we must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Thank you.
Hello, my name is David DeLeon, and I am a proud Education Austin member at Burnett Middle School. I live and vote in Anticia's district. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Students and staff should not return to their campuses until public health data shows that it is safe to reopen our schools. And by safe, I mean until we have had a long period of time with no new deaths and as close to no new cases as possible. Also, classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. This is the least that we can do to recognize the risks that they are taking. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. The last I want is to mourn the loss of a student or staff member because we rushed to reopen schools before it is safe to do so. Thank you.
Barbara McKinnon, commenting on consent item 12.2. Hi, my name is Barbara McKinnon, and I'm an Education Austin member from Perez Elementary. I live and vote in Geronimo Rodriguez's district, and I'm calling to comment on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us the positive infection rate is low and is safe for us to reopen our schools, I believe AIC should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. For those classified employees who perform duties essential to our district's operations and have been required or will be required to return to campus, those employees should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything below that is unacceptable, given the risk that we are asking them to endure. Hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize them for putting themselves in harm's way for our district. As a dedicated teacher, I know that we can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all our students to ensure that our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AIC home. Please hear my message. Virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gracie Hopkins, and I'm a Proud Education Austin member at Perez Elementary. I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. I'm taking a pause in my lunch break today to call my elected trustees and urge them to do your job and hold our Austin ISD administration to a higher standard for the sake of the children and families we serve. Since the beginning of August, employees have been scared, threatened, and intentionally misinformed about school reopening. Some principals are telling their employees that they will choose who goes in and who doesn't, and some are even recommending to teachers that they reconsider their professions. We should not be requiring, threatening, or even encouraging staff to report to work if they do not feel comfortable. Additionally, in the spring, We Education Austin fought and won hero pay for all classified employees who physically report to work. Now we continue to be in stage 4 with COVID numbers in Austin, and classified employees are showing up every day and getting zero hero pay. What happened? This means one of two things. Either the risk has lowered or we've stopped caring about that risk. It's clear with AIC administration that it's the latter. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear, virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay.
My name is Will Maxwell. I'm an SBS TA at Murchison Middle School, and this is regarding safe reopening and pay. All right. I've appreciated the fact that we're starting the year off later than planned and with virtual learning. However, I wanted to tell you that I don't believe it is safe to reopen schools after the first 4 weeks of virtual instruction. Unfortunately, we are already seeing too many examples nationwide where this has led to the spread of coronavirus. It is worth no human's life. We are still in the middle of a pandemic. Everyone is worried and things are having to understandably change last minute. I would urge you to make a call, though, to keep virtual learning for this entire semester at least. Just like a classroom, let's set up our expectations so that parents and teachers alike can prepare for a successful virtual learning experience. At the same time, there are certain students where home life may not be conducive to this or even safe. For them, let's prepare so that we can plan, provide, or navigate certain resources or options. Let's not put lives at risk, though. Secondly, any staff who performs duties that put them in danger of coronavirus but are quote-unquote essential to district operations or that are essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay. Thank you. Stay healthy and safe. Appreciate it.
My name is Angela Pierce. I'm the parent of an AICD student, and I would like to comment regarding the agenda item 11.2, administrative contract for 2020-2021. To the board, I have read the data that shows that 67% of Black children aren't performing at grade level in AICD. While this data is very unfortunate, it's also not surprising, and my own child is part of this statistic. I was very excited when AICD hired its first equity officer a year ago. The voice of Dr. Holly is much needed in a district that mentions equity at every opportunity. But so far, the Board of Trustees hasn't shown much respect for her and for her work, as we saw Trustee Matias attacking her, and so far the board hasn't addressed it. Please show your support for Dr. Holly, for the Equity Office, and for the students of this district by offering her no less than a 2-year contract and by renewing a commitment to fully staffing the Equity Office. Thank you.
Hi, this is Teresa Chapa, and I am a very proud Education Austin member at Becker Elementary. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to the district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now. Thank you for your time.
My name is Emily Sharon, and I am a proud Education Austin member at Patton Elementary. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it's safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physical reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure the community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Richard Kelly. I am a product of the Austin school systems, a parent of a student at Small Middle School, and a teacher in Austin ISD. I also live in Geronimo Rodriguez's district. I'm calling in reference to agenda item 12.2. And I just want to ask, as a teacher, I'm told to create SMART goals with measurable outcomes so I can determine how I did. And I just want to ask anybody on the board who's supporting returning us to in-person learning, how many deaths are acceptable? What is the goal? What do we want to stay under? We're already at 2. I think that number is 0. And I just want to know if anybody supports returning to school, what they consider to be an acceptable number of student and faculty deaths. I would also point out that anybody concerned about their child's well-being or emotional state, I would like them to consider how that's going to be affected by classmate and faculty deaths. And finally, anybody who does need to go in person, unlike the school board who has their meetings virtually, I just really think we need to give them hero pay, because I know I don't want to do that, and I don't want to risk myself or my family in that way. Thank you for listening, and so far you've done the right thing, and I hope you continue to do so.
Hello, my name is John Neely. I currently work at Betachek Middle School. I am speaking in regards to about the physical return to schools and the Heroes Pay Now. I would implore that the school board decide to vote against not returning to physical education until the science proves that it is safe to do so. I am a teacher, again, for the last 10 years, 8 in our district. Please, please, please listen to the science. My wife has a thyroid condition, so even if she doesn't return, I would, and I do not want to get my family sick. I also have a 1-year-old to consider as well for the Heroes Pay Now Act and for all classified employees returning physically. Please consider doubling their pay. Please, please, please consider these action items. Please value your employees as you do your students. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Travis Horn, and I'm a proud Education Austin member at Lively Middle School. I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. I want to start off and say I want you guys to hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay for the classified workers who have to go in. Until public school data tells us that it's safe to reopen our schools, we should be providing virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. We don't want to get kids sick. We don't want to get employees sick. It's unreasonable to have us do this. It's unsafe, and I can't believe that anyone would think about doing this, putting our children in harm's way. Classified employees who have been going in should have been performing duties essential to the district's operations should also be compensated at twice their rate of pay for hero pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do for these heroes who are sacrificing a lot for us. I already know that one custodial staff was sick at my school, and I don't want any more getting sick. And if they have to go in, they have to be compensated for that risk. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Andrew Gonzalez. I'm a proud Education Austin member at Lively Middle School. I live and work in Trustee Rodriguez's district. I'm commenting on item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least that we can do to recognize the risk of their work, literally putting their lives on the line. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure that our community remains safe at the same time. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear, virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now.
Hello, my name is Katie McClure, and I'm a parent of 2 Austin ISD students. I'm also a proud Education Austin member at Becker Elementary. I live and vote in Amber Ellen's district. I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. We know that our public health data tells us it's not safe to reopen schools yet, and until it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. As an educator, one of the jobs that is most important to me is advocating for my students and their families. I know that my students are not safe in campuses and they will not be in the immediate future. I also know that their families that they will be going home to will not be safe if they're exposed to the virus at the rate that they will be if kids are on campuses anytime in the near future. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, their families, employees, community member that calls AISD home.
Hello, my name is James Karabak. I'm an Education Austin member, and I'm also been a classroom teacher for AISD for 32 years. I am commenting on consent item 12.2, and I want to share with all the trustees that I feel that until public health data tells us that it's safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only. The guidelines put out by the Federal Health Department are that it should be less than 5% of a positivity rate. We're not down to that point yet. And beyond that, we also need to have a reduction for 14 days in positive cases. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure that our community remains safe. We need to protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Virtual instruction only, please, and hero pay for our classified employees. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Kristen Murray, and I am a proud Austin education teacher and also a proud Austin ISD parent, and I am calling to comment on item 12.2. My statement is that I think teachers and staff should remain at home for all virtual instruction until the health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools. Our classified employees are going above and beyond the call of duty and do deserve a hero's pay or compensation for the risk they are taking to make sure our campuses are safe for our return when the health data tells us it is safe to reopen. Thank you for your time.
My name is Nancy Mims. I'm speaking to item 11.2, Administrator Contracts.
I remain disgusted by the unchecked anti-Black and misogynist comment from Trustee Mathias earlier this month. The lingering silence from the board and the lack of willingness to stand up and correct his gross misrepresentation of the equity officer's record is deeply troubling. Not only is the silence an endorsement of the individual harm done by the trustee, it's systemically connected to the board's destabilization of the equity office at a time when the equity officer's expertise and work should be elevated and the equity office empowered and fully staffed and resourced. This board likes to say the word equity a lot, all while too many children remain chronically marginalized by the district. Inequitable outcomes for Black and Brown students and students with disabilities are ignored, all while the board silences community voices and senselessly disempowers the equity office. No apology from this board would be sufficient without real action. Please demonstrate action by extending a 2-year contract for Dr. Halley and renewing the commitment to fully staffing the equity office as she sees fit to best serve our children.
Hi, my name is Laura Olson, and I'm an AISD parent and community member speaking on agenda item 11.2, Administrator Contracts for 2020-21. Thank you for your hard work in response to the COVID-19 crisis. I ask you to prioritize equity in AISD to best address the continuing needs of students and families most impacted by historical inequity and the pandemic. We are depending on your support of the AISD Chief Equity Officer to achieve racial and social equity in AISD. AISD's current Chief Equity Officer does not have a contract, and there are 3 vacant positions in that office while AISD continues to push out inequitable outcomes. And most recently, the school board allowed racist public comments made by a fellow trustee toward Dr. Hawley to go unchecked. We ask you to make things right by taking action to provide and secure a contract for Dr. Hawley, AISD Chief Equity Officer, demonstrating your dedication to equally high outcomes for all participants in our educational system. Thank you for your service and consideration.
Hello, my name is Christina, and I'm calling as a proud education member of Education Austin. I work at Perez Elementary, and I grew up in Austin ISD, and I am commenting on consent item 12.2. I'm calling to encourage support for using public health data to guide safe reopening for our schools, and to reinforce that we should have virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses until such time. I also support hero pay for classified employees who have duties that cannot be performed virtually at this time and who have to show up and risk their health to do their work. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laurie Solis, and I'm an Austin ISD mom of 3, one at Cowan Elementary, a son at Lively Middle School, and a junior at Bowie High School, speaking on agenda item 11.2, Administrator Contracts for 2020-21. First, thank you so much for all of the hard work Austin ISD has done in response to the COVID-19 crisis. Also, I want to give big kudos for a district to provide a new position for an equity officer and Dr. Stephanie Hawley over a year ago. I would like to ask you today to prioritize equity in Austin ISD to best address the continuing needs of students and families most impacted by both historical inequity and the pandemic. And we are depending on your support of the Austin ISD Chief Equity Officer to achieve racial and social equity in Austin ISD. I have been made aware that Austin ISD's current Chief Equity Officer does not have a contract, and I'd like to ask you to make things right by taking action to provide and secure a contract for Dr. Hawley. Our Chief Equity Officer has demonstrated dedication and priority of
Hi, my name is Victoria Guerrero. I'm an AISD parent and PTA president at Betachek Middle School. I'm speaking on agenda item 11.12, Administrator Contracts for 2020 and 2021. I want to thank everybody for their hard work in response to the COVID crisis, but I do ask that you prioritize equity in AISD to best address the continuing needs of students and families most impacted by both historical inequity and the pandemic. We are depending on the support of AISD's Chief Equity Officer to achieve racial and social equity in AISD. AISD's current Chief Equity Officer does not have a contract, and there are 3 vacant positions in that office, while AISD continues to push inequitable outcomes. And most recently, the school board allowed racist public comments made by a fellow trustee toward Dr. Hawley to go unchecked. We ask that you make things right by taking action to provide and secure a contract for Dr. Howley, AISD's Chief Equity Officer, demonstrating your dedication to equally high outcomes for all participants in our education system. Thank you for your service and consideration.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Jones, and I'm a teacher in District 4. And I live in Vogt in District 7 of Austin ISD. I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. Until health data tells us that it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. This is a matter of people's lives and possibly deaths if we do not follow health data that tells us that is the only safe way to do it. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base. Anything less is not acceptable. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure that our community remains safe. We must protect everybody. That includes students, teachers, and any other staff that would have to go to a building. Please hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now, please.
Hi, this is John McCurdy Gonzalez, parent of a child in Dawson Elementary, and I'm calling about item 10.8, the possible outsourcing of services to special education students. Students who require special education services require trust and confidence in Austin ISD, and outsourcing $17 million through contracting service kind of outsources the relationship of students and parents with special needs to an outside service that does not have the same kind of oversight or responsibility, or more important, full-time investment in Austin ISD. I encourage you to keep the sense that Austin ISD is a family and keep the $17 million to provide services through Austin ISD staff, through Austin ISD faculty, and not outsource so quickly in kind of an emergency panic $17 million worth of services. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Alma Cepeda, and I'm working from Maplewood Elementary School. Yes, I'm agree with the virtual instructions only until it is safe for the teachers, and for the employees or classified employees, I'm agree with the hero pay, okay, because we are working at home and we are working in campus, almost every day. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Crystal Taylor, and I am an Austin ISD teacher. I live and vote in Travis County. I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. I believe that until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay, please. Thank you.
I am Melissa Olivas, a teacher with Austin ISD, and I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. I want safe school reopenings for all students. That includes my son, who will be entering dual language kinder. If teachers are forced back before it is safe, teachers no longer have the same options other parents have in regards to sending their children to school or keeping them at home. I will be forced to send him to school in unsafe conditions. We are all making difficult decisions, but the district will force teachers to have no choice in regards to our own health and that of our family. Science is important, and this message says teachers' lives are not.
Hi, my name is Monica Torres Kimiagari, and I'm calling with regards to consent item 12.2. Hi, my name is Monica Torres, and I'm a proud Education Austin member at Perez Elementary. I live in both in Mr. Matias district, and like I said, I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tell us that it's safe to reopen schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physical reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate their base pay. It's only fair. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least that we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and also ensure that our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every single student, every employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Here's loud and clear, virtual instruction only until it's safe and hero pay now. I also wanted to mention, I am the wife of an emergency care physician, and this is another emergency care.
Hello, my name is Leslie Hibbard, and I am a proud Education Austin member at O. Henry Middle School. I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. Public health data tells us that it's too soon to reopen our schools, and we should be providing virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Any classified employees or other employees who perform things that require them to be up at school should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. This is the least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. I know that we can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and keep our community safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Please hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Mai, and I am a proud Education Austin member. I work at Navarro Early College High School. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls Austin ISD home. Please hear us loud and clear, virtual instruction only until it is safe, and hero pay now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leah Tung. I work at Murkison Middle School. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize their work, the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear, virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now.
Action item 12.2.
Hi, my name is Matthew Bulow, and I am a parent of an AISD student enrolled at Clint Small Middle School. My household live and vote in the district of Yasmin Wagner. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us that it's safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physical reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to reorganize or recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear, virtual instruction only until it's safe, and hero pay now. Thank you.
My name is Angelita Guerra. I am a proud Education Austin member at Pillow Elementary. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reopening to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls Austin ISD home. Hear us loud and clear, virtual instruction only until it's safe and hero pay.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Cobb, and I am a proud Education Austin member at Navarro Early College High School. I live in Vote Ann Teish's district, and I am commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells that it is safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. This is really important. I truly care about my students. I just want to be safe and ensure the best level of education that they can have.
Hi, my name is Juan Garza. I'm a member of Education Austin at Bettis Elementary. I live in District 6, and I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. I want to show my support for providing virtual instruction only without having to physically report to campuses until the data and the science show that it's safe to do so. And along those same lines, my hope is that these seemingly arbitrary timelines for returning to in-person learning will be done away with. Rather than the metric for return being in 4 weeks or whatever the period of time, I think the sensible metric should be when cases, hospitalizations, the rate of positivity have reached and stayed below certain levels. The data should dictate safe return, not an arbitrary number of weeks. I also want to express my support for classified employees being compensated with hero pay. It goes without saying that they put themselves on the line and at risk to keep operations going, and the least that can be done for them is fair compensation for that risk. Again, I hope there's virtual instruction only until it's safe, and also hero pay for classified employees. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brett Corba. I am an Education Austin member. I work at Murchison Middle School. I live and vote in Kristen Ashey's district. I am commenting on consent item 12.2. I'm very concerned about our public health data and what it's showing us about the COVID coronavirus pandemic going on in our community. And I am very concerned about schools opening safely. I especially am concerned at my school about the air quality in the rooms that we will be using as far as the filtration and ventilation. when and if we are able to reopen. I'm very concerned that teachers and all staff members have adequate protection in the form of N95 masks. That's a big deal. And we need the infection rate to be down so that it's even safe as it can be. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Erin Newland, and I'm an Education Austin member at Murchison Middle School. I live and vote in Ann Tykes District. I'm commenting on consent item 12.2. Until public health data tells us it's safe to reopen our schools, we should provide virtual instruction only without physically reporting to campuses. Classified employees who perform duties essential to district operations should be compensated with hero pay at twice the rate of their base pay. Anything less is unacceptable. Giving them hero pay is the absolute least we can do to recognize the risk of their work. We can provide high-quality virtual instruction to all students and ensure our community remains safe. We must protect the lives of every student, employee, and community member that calls AISD home. Hear us loud and clear. Virtual instruction only is until it's safe, and hero pay now. Thank you.
Hello, this is Jared Brackenridge. I am calling concerning item 12.2, which is related to COVID-19 and a safe reopening for our students, staff, and their families. I'm calling simply to ask for that. I want nothing more than for everybody to be safe. Our district has already lost way too many
Dr. Elizalde or Dr. Reach, was that the last speaker?
That was not. I think we have a technical difficulty. If you don't mind giving us just a few seconds and we are checking on it.
Sure, no problem.
We apologize. We did have our staff member who was sharing the comments just experience a quick technical difficulty. He's logging back in now, and we'll have it back up in a moment.
Thank you.
Eddie, you should be set back up. Feel free to start when you're ready.
Hello, this is Jared Brackenridge. I am calling concerning item 12.2, which is related to COVID-19 and a safe reopening for our students, staff, and their families. I'm calling simply to ask for that. I want nothing more than for everybody to be safe. Our district has already lost way too many employees. And the last thing that any of us would want on our conscience, I believe, is to have a student in AISD or another staff member or anybody to lose their life or to have to battle this with this pandemic. So
please, 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 please take into consideration everyone's safety. And I also want to ask that you make sure that our staff members that are essential, that have to come in for whatever reason, that they are paid with a hero's pay. They are dedicating their time and their ability to work, and they need to be compensated for that during this pandemic and these unsafe times. That is basically all I have to say. Do the right thing, AISD.
I am calling about item 11.2, contracts, administrator contracts. I remain disgusted by the unchecked anti-Black and misogynist comments from Trustee Matthias earlier this month. The silence from this board and the lack of willingness to stand for what is right and correct this misrepresentation of Dr. Stephanie Hawley is deeply troubling. The word equity is thrown around here and there and everywhere, and unfortunately, inequitable outcomes continue to be what is produced. Students with disabilities are ignored. Students of the global majority are treated as minority and less than. There is no apology from this board that is sufficient without real action. Please demonstrate action by extending a 2-year contract for Dr. Hawley and renewing the commitment to fully staffing the equity office as she sees fit to best serve our students and the community at large. Thank you.
Excuse me. Trustees, this concludes public testimony. Are there any questions or clarifications? Sorry about that. Are there any questions or clarifications, trustees? Trustee Letitia Anderson.
So is it possible to have someone, Dr. Alizalde, just touch a little on what the implications are if we just solely go virtual and no in person? Is it possible to have somebody touch on that? Is it possible?
Sure, I'll be happy to do that, Trustee Letitia Anderson. So, and let me make sure I understand the question so I answer it correctly. Going 100% virtual is, of course, what we're doing for the first 4 weeks of school, which we've already committed to doing that for students. And that is actually a level above, according to page 5 of the guidelines for opening schools. We could actually open right now in stage 4 at 25% capacity of students attending. However, I have made the recommendation that we not do that and the board approved. We would go virtual for the first 4 weeks. So I do want to make sure everyone hears how cautious we're being, that even though we could open at 25% students, we are only opening up 100% virtual with students and giving it a choice for instructional staff to report during the first 2 weeks of that particular period of time.
So my reference is solely virtual, not for first 4 weeks. I'm talking about just completely virtual.
Oh,
Can you
I see
talk
what you're saying. If we went 100% virtual for the first semester completely, is that the question?
The school year.
Yeah, well,
can you just talk a little about?
We will go bankrupt in a nutshell, because there will be zero funding unless there would be an absolute about face by the governor and the lieutenant governor and the opinion by the attorney general with regard to requiring the Texas Education Agency to only allow schools to receive funding up to, right now, the maximum we can receive funding is up to 8 weeks. So anything beyond that would mean there would be, not only would we be talking about layoffs, we wouldn't be able to make payroll. We generate, our revenue comes from our students receiving, being in classes and us receiving funding. So without any funding, there would be no jobs and there will be no place for students to go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Anderson. Trustees, any other questions or clarifications? Hearing and seeing none, as a reminder to the public, please feel free to share any general comments or questions on non-voting items with the board via email at trustees@austinisd.org. We will now move to the consent agenda. Are there any consent items that trustees would like to pull for a separate vote? Trustee Ellens?
Thank you. I have a couple announcements. Without board objection, I would like to pull item 9.4, which are the minutes from June 22nd. They're not uploaded into board docs as they're still being reviewed by legal. So we will need to vote on those next month. Second thing is the administration has requested we pull item 10.11, also for consideration in September. And then finally, personally, I would like to pull item 12.1, which is policy FCC local.
So Trustee Ellens, just to clarify, without board objection, we're pulling and removing from tonight's agenda 9.4 and 10.11. And just to clarify, you're pulling item 12.1 for a separate vote with a second by Trustee, I need a second on that one.
Second.
Okay, by Trustee Ashe. Okay.
I do also want to remind everyone that the administration also pulled item 10.6 before we began.
That's for consideration at another meeting if needed. Okay. And just to clarify again, without board objection, we're pulling from this agenda 9.4, 10.6, and 10.11, with 10.6 being the administration request, 9.4 and 10.11 being pulled by the board.
No,
So
the administration also pulled 10.11.
okay, great. 10.6 and 10.11 are pulled by the administration. So I'm sorry, Trustee Ellens, you pulled 12.1 with a second by Trustee Ashe. Any other items that you're pulling?
No.
Nope. Okay. Trustee Singh.
I would like us to please pull items 8.3, which is related to the CCMR in third grade reading and math plans, and also 12.2, which was the board resolution.
Okay.
I'll second that.
For both, Trustee Tice? Yes. Okay. Great. So make sure I have my notes right. Okay. Trustees, any other items to pull? Okay, if not, Secretary Ellens, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Okay, somebody else be watching, make sure I get this right. I make a motion to approve consent agenda items 8.1, 8.2, 9.1 through 9.3, 9.5 through 10.5, 10.7 through 10.10, 10.12 through 11.3.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
So trustees, is there any discussion on any of these consent items? Trustee Cindy Anderson.
Yes, I had
Just a couple of comments on agenda item 10.8, or rather administrative requests. This is the one on the special education contract services. I always take a very special look at requests for contracted services for a number of reasons. And I'm wondering, Dr. Elizalde, if you can provide some additional information moving forward. I want to be clear that I'm well aware that we have vacancies in a number of these areas. And first and foremost, it's imperative that our students have access to services. But I think we have some ongoing challenges that I would like to see some work towards a solution for, as opposed to what has been a habit at times to simply put out RFPs for contract services, as opposed to solving the challenges that are creating the vacancies, for example. So if you could provide at a later date some additional information on how many vacancies we currently have and where. I know there's a couple of different areas included in this contract. I also feel like it's been maybe 5 years, a little bit longer, since we've done a salary study in this particular area. And so it may be time for us to initiate a new one so that we can look at whether or not we are adequately compensating our employees and if that's contributing to the number of ongoing vacancies that we have. And before you got here, there were a number of issues with respect to climate. We had a lot of SLPs and LSSPs come and speak during public testimony in this past year. And so if we could maybe over the next year get kind of a better feel for where we are in all of those arenas, because my hope is that, this is a 1 year with the possibility of extending for, I think, 3 more years. And I would prefer we come back and kind of have a check-in conversation. Obviously, you've been here for less than 2 weeks, and so you need time to ascertain, exactly what's happening and look at something that's a more permanent solution, hopefully. But as opposed to just automatically extending next year, if perhaps the board could have another conversation about where we are with respect to those issues that may or may not be contributing to the problem, or if it's something else that we're not currently aware of, I think that would be really helpful, because we tend to spend more money on contract services than we do when they're internal employees. And especially, in the area of special education, not that this isn't incredibly important for all students in all classrooms, but they really do build strong relationships with the individuals that provide them services. And I think that's much harder to do when you have contracted services on a regular basis, and you may not be served by the same person on a consistent basis. So if I could make those requests, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
I would just like to respond if I could I know the data I'll provide at a later time. However, I do want you to know that in my seeking to understand this particular item, it is an item that I think we need to obviously approve now so that we can have the services provided. However, definitely think that it is due for a cost analysis so that we can see if it is in fact better if we look to seek to hire full-time employees for these positions. So I will absolutely look at getting a report for the vacancies, as well as looking at our salary, our compensation, and see how we compare to other areas. And I'm quite sure that Dr. Medina is already taking notes, and we will gather that information. But right now, I would obviously, as you indicated as well, for the meantime, and it would be great after we do a cost-benefit analysis if we are able to come back and say, we're not going to need this level. And I do want to reiterate that it's an up to the $3.5 million for year 1. And our goal would be not to expend the 3.5 if at all necessary. But if our kids need it during that period of time, I know you all are in support of ensuring that our student needs come first. So thank you very much for that.
Agreed. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Trustee Ellens and then Trustee Singh.
Hi, thank you. This is actually just sort of a process question. We have, and maybe it is something to just take notes on how we're going to move forward with items like this in our retreat, because I heard several things in trustee Anderson's request that I want to clarify. We have a practice of not allowing one trustee to ask for specific work from the administration. And I would like to give my support for what she's asking for if you are looking for a quorum of the board. I'm not sure how we're going to handle that moving forward. But I do think that what I also heard is that we could put some plans in place to add in some conversations around salary studies and climate evaluations as part of ongoing board work over time. And so I think, again, I would support both of those and maybe look at it that way, but keep a note on how we would do this moving forward as a team of 10. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Singh.
I appreciated trustee Cindy Anderson's points. I think I was going to say all the same stuff, so I'm totally behind that. So thank you. I had a couple. I just wanted to clarify, Dr. Elizalde. So when the board approved the budget in June, we approved $10 million more in special education, but this $3.5 million contract is not part of that. It's not coming from that 10 million. This is something that is sort of like a continuation of what we have done in previous years. Is that right?
That is correct. This is a contract that we, in general, and I'll just speak in generalities again without having a full understanding of the details here. But in general, there are some services that even when we offer competitive salaries, they're so in high demand that there are certain specialties that are still difficult to keep. So speech pathologists, sometimes LSSPs, depending on the level of diagnostician expertise. Sometimes those are even too expensive, if you will, to hire some of those staff full time, especially when in some of those instances, you may also need them, and I'm going to use the word more seasonally, when you have higher numbers of students that need reevaluations and assessments. And so that's why I say it's a little more complicated than just we're spending a lot of money. I need to see this, but no, this is not the additional monies that you on to add to the special ed budget is not being taken up by this.
Fantastic. And then the other thing was and tell me if this is right or wrong, but I have heard from a couple of constituents that there are some evaluations that might be taking place face-to-face in the first month or two of school. Is that correct?
So we are working because assessments are very, they're calibrated on face-to-face delivery. So when you do that, to try to do that over virtual really impacts the authenticity. And this is such an important evaluation assessment that we do because it sets, of course, as you know, the way in which an IEP is developed, the services that the student applies for. And so this is not something that we can do virtually and really do to fidelity. And so in fact, our special ed team has been diligently working, and I supported their advanced work on creating some scheduled times when individuals can come in practicing the social distancing, again, utilizing our protocols so that students can already begin to get those assessments. We know that as most school districts, we're a little behind in catching up with some of that, and we want to provide our students every opportunity. And we're very fortunate we have staff that are dedicated to doing that.
Appreciate that. And so will some of those evaluations be done by the contractors as well, or would it mostly be our staff?
I'm going to say it's going to be a combination because it will depend on how many we get scheduled. Initially, we'll start utilizing our staff, but depending on how many we have, we could very well be expanding quickly to utilizing our consulting services.
Got it. Okay, thank you. And I just want to say thanks to Dr. Hickman and all the special ed folks who have been working so hard on this. I know it's a real challenge, and just another example of a lot of the good work that's happening in our district. So thank you.
Thank you, trustee Anderson, Letitia Anderson. You raised your hand. Trustees, any other questions on the discussion portion of the consent items? If not, having a motion by Secretary Ellens and a second by trustee Letitia Anderson to approve consent agenda items 8.1, 8.2, 9.1 to 9.3, 9.5 to 10.5, 10.7 to 10.10, and 10.12 through 11.3. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion passes by all those on the dais. Now for the items that were pulled from the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve agenda item 12.5? I'm sorry, 12.1. Sorry.
Do you want to go in order, Geronimo? We've got a
Yes.
couple before that. 8.3, I believe, is the first one.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're taking them by numerical order. I was taking them by the order that they were pulled. Sorry, let's do that. Let's do numerical order. So do I have a motion to approve agenda item? Thank you. 8.3. Trustee Singh, was that your motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve 8.3.
Second.
Letitia Anderson. Any discussion on agenda item 8.3? Go ahead.
Yeah, I had some questions. So I really appreciate that we had some time to think about this, because I know that the staff presented the career college and military readiness and third grade reading and math plans. And so what I see here is a list of fairly aggressive goals, which I'm happy to see disaggregated by race and other special categories like special education and English language learners, etc. And I guess what my question was, can you all help me understand, Dr. Elizalde, what TEA is expecting these plans to look like? Is it literally just like the benchmarks, or is it also like the implementation plan that's going to get us there?
Yeah, TEA is very clear that the only thing they're looking for is that we actually assign goals and that we list that there's professional development connected to it. And they also want us to ensure that we've identified a staff member that is, if you will, taking the lead on these particular, I don't want to say the goals, because it's not taking the lead on the goals, but taking the lead on ensuring that we've got the plans once we develop them for implementation at the campus level, and that we're continuing the progress monitoring along the way.
Okay.
And if I could point out, although it wasn't the question you asked, but I'd also like to point out that you should see that there's a change in the methodology in which we arrive at the 90%. I don't know if you all were able to see, if you recall, although I wasn't the superintendent at the time, you asked the question about the goal, and a long-standing practice of taking the difference between where you are and where you want to be and dividing that by the number of years is a very traditional practice that has been done for many years. Our team had already asked me if they could make some changes to that, and I was very happy to hear that. So we went back statistically and recognized that, for instance, our third grade, we are going to have an opportunity to ramp up that over time, because as you can well imagine, as we begin to focus on our early learning more and more, then each grade level will be at a higher academic achievement level. And therefore, instead of saying we're going to get a 10-point gain in year one, you see that I'm now predicting a much modest increase, but then you see almost a doubling of that, and we still arrive at the same outcome. But you'll notice that statistically our methodology is different and is actually based on real-time results.
Okay, that's great. And so the idea is not that the list of professional development courses, that's not like the end-all be-all plan.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. We're required to tie some specific professional development, and so that's what the team did. And so the actual implementation and the actionable operationalization of how we're going to get there is obviously, to your point, far more in depth, and I would be happy to then work through that as I'm still working with the team on what that's
Thank
going to
you.
look like.
Okay, appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
Trustees, any other questions? Other discussion? If not, having a motion and a second to approve agenda item 8.3, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion passes by all those on the dais. Trustee Letitia Anderson, did you raise your hand? Yep, sorry, you were on my second screen, so I had to scroll. Okay, great. So again, having the motion passes by all those on the dais. Do I have a motion to approve agenda item 12.1?
I would like to ask some questions because the motion I would make might be different than what is presented. Is that possible? Can I start with questions?
We can, it's a clarification, if it's a clarification question to the superintendent, is that what it is?
Well, I would like to know. If it was just clarification, I wouldn't have pulled it. I would like to add some language to the policy. So if you want to have someone make the motion and then I can make an amendment.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest if you would like, I can make a motion and then you can make a motion for an amendment, Amber, and then if that passes, we can go from there.
Okay.
So I move then to approve agenda item 12.1.
Is there a second?
Second.
That was Trustee Ashe. Okay, so is there any discussion? And Trustee Ellens, you had a question or possibly an amendment.
So yes, in the policy, which I seem to just misplace, it's policy FCC local, and thank you very much to the policy committee for reviewing this. So I so apologize. I'm not on the committee, so this is my chance to ask some questions. In the part that we're adding, there is a paragraph, the first paragraph, it says the child study team shall provide written progress monitoring notifications to parents or guardians and document and archive such notifications. Is there something anywhere that gives some indication of how often the monitoring happens and how the notifications to parents will occur?
So I'm going to try to respond to this one with regard to experiences I've had. We don't have that listed there, and I would recommend that if that's something that we want to add, which I have no objection to, but I would recommend that that be done in regulation rather than in the policy, so that way I don't have to bring the policy back to the board should we need to make adjustments to the dates.
Okay, I can go with that. I would ask that we get to see the regulation. The second one I would like to request or get some feedback on is the second paragraph says the child study team shall notify parents or guardians in writing when tier interventions are increased, i.e. when tier 2 replaces tier 1 or tier 3 replaces tier 2. So I'm wondering why we wouldn't notify them if it was increased or decreased. So if my child was going to move from tier 1 down to, tier 2 down to tier 1, is there no need to notify me about that as well?
Well, we would always want any kind of communication, as you're pointing out, we want to communicate in either improvements or a need for improvement. And so I think this could be amended as well. I also think, and Dr. Reach can jump in here, I'm working really hard to get caught up with everything. I hope I'm demonstrating that I've been studying. Nonetheless, on this one, I may have to, as much as I didn't want to have to do that, I may have to get over to some help from my teammate, Dr. Reach. But I think we were talking about that possibly also could be added to a local language rather than in the policy itself. Dr. Reach, correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Yeah, I do think that we could edit the language here to simply say that it's a change of any level. I will state that the reason the language is provided here is because of suggestions and guidance provided to us by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, who suggested that the language that you see is changed here would be preferable language. But by all means, I think they would find it acceptable. And our general counsel, Elise Jansen, also had a discussion with them, but that we could amend it to say that it's any change in the level would trigger that notification.
Jacob, if I could correct for one moment, it's not EEOC, it's TEA. Okay.
Thank you. Apologize.
Big difference.
Yeah.
And
So-
certainly change at any level going up or down could be incorporated into the local policy. I think there had been a greater concern about if one ended up needing more serious interventions or more serious help, intensive help, that we make sure that we notify properly and timely. But certainly it could be the other way around just as easily.
Yeah, I would appreciate it. I know a lot of people who have suddenly found themselves without services and were told after the fact that was happening. Historically, I've been in the district a long time. This is not recent reporting. So I was, if we could just even say the child study team shall notify parents or guardians in writing when tier interventions are changed, period.
That's
So
an expanded language, and I think that actually incorporates more. We're in support of that. We can make that change.
great. Now I'm not sure the rest. So that is my motion is amend that second paragraph in the additional section under notification to parents to read: the child study team shall notify parents or guardians in writing when tier interventions are changed, period.
Second.
Who seconded?
I'll second it.
Cindy
So-
seconded.
Trustee Cindy Anderson did. So any discussion on the amendment, trustees?
I will ask, do I need to keep the parenthetical clause in there for any reason? Do y'all think? I would change it when tier 2 replaces tier 1 or tier 3. I'll leave that.
Trustee Owens, if I may, since it's going to be inclusive of any change, I believe that the full statement and the full paragraph would read: the child study team shall notify parents or guardians in writing when tier interventions are changed, period.
Okay.
Because it's inclusive of any type of change.
Okay.
So trustees, any discussion on the amendment? I think Trustee Anderson, you made the motion. So are you amenable to that amendment? I know you.
I seconded it, so you can take that as a yes.
Yeah, I just want to be clear that it wasn't.
Appreciate that.
It was asking the person who had made the motion that they could amend it. So trustees, any other discussion on item 12.1 as amended? So if there's no other discussion, having a motion and a second to approve agenda item 12.1 as amended by Trustee Ellens and accepted by by Trustee Cindy Anderson as the person who made the motion. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. The motion passes by all those on the dais. Do I have a motion to approve agenda item 12.2?
So moved.
And is there a second? Letitia Anderson. Okay, is there any discussion? Trustees?
Hello. So 12.2 is a resolution that the board has basically been approving since March, since this terrible pandemic started, and it allows the district to work a little bit more with more agility, I guess, and make some decisions without having to consult the board as much, which I think was and is very useful in this time where we're getting new information from TEA almost every other day, and as COVID changes, COVID infection rates, et cetera, change daily as well. And so I think I'm glad that we're doing this. However, at the same time, I also feel like we gotta think about this as a new normal. Like back in March, this was like an acute crisis, and now we're several months into this, and I'm wondering for the last two clauses. Well, actually, I'll narrow it down to the last two clauses are the ones that I wanted to talk about a little bit. So one says, it's number 3. It says the superintendent is hereby authorized to review, approve, and submit any and all TEA waiver applications on behalf of the district without needing board signatures. And this would go through November 2nd. And the second one says that the Board of Trustees hereby suspends any such board practices and operating procedures, as well as certain board policies regarding compensation, employee leave, and purchasing, procurements, and a few other things. So I guess I feel like it's time that maybe the board, I know that Dr. Elizalde will make decisions that are in the best interest of our students and staff. I don't have a doubt about that. At the same time, I would feel a little bit more comfortable if the board started to take back some of these responsibilities because we are sort of in a new normal, and I would definitely, if it didn't create too much of a burden, at the very least, I would want to strike the section related to compensation and employee leave. And I would want those discussions to be a part of the public conversation and possibly have board votes on those if that's something we would normally do anyway. So I guess I would love for Dr. Elizalde, I don't want to put you on the spot, but just to hear some of your thoughts on this and see if there was any flexibility on either of these clauses in the resolution.
So I think there's some flexibility that we are seeking, and I'm going to ask Dr. Medina to jump in here as I kind of wrap up my statement. There's some things that we haven't maybe been able to foresee that can arise. Like we may be looking to be a little more flexible with some of our leave. For instance, if we say that we're going to bring back up to 25% of our staff into a building, and some folks are going to come and some folks aren't going to come. So technically, the way we've identified whether you've reported to work or not, that's a little different than our typical practice. And so in looking for flexibility, we were really looking at this as a means of being able to be more responsive to our employees and their needs. But let me turn this over to Dr. Medina so that he can give us from the expertise of the HR lens. Dr. Medina?
Sure, thank you, Dr. Elizalde. Fernando Medina, Chief Human Capital Officer. So Trustee Singh, I would like to first start by, I don't want to read into what you might be articulating, certainly, and perhaps maybe if you can just color a little bit or fill in the blanks for me, because I'm hearing what our public said and our stakeholders said earlier today. And can you fill in a little bit of blanks there for me, just a little bit more, so I can address that question.
I mean, I think I don't. Where I guess I don't know exactly. Like we don't know what we don't know about what decisions are going to have to be made over the coming months, and so I mean, one decision that might have to be made is could be around staff returning back to campuses. Uh, and so I just,
Let
you
me
know,
add let me add
go
an
ahead.
example, if I may. I apologize for interrupting, but
That's fine.
as you were talking, I had the thought. For instance, when our staff are going out on quarantine, that would count against their leave. And is that, unless we make certain exceptions? Dr. Medina, can you talk to that example, for instance, and what we've elected to do?
Absolutely. So in this case, during these first 4 weeks, first of all, when our staff is at home working remotely, that will not count towards any of their leave, nor will it count towards any of their FFCRA, which provides for that leave. So that is a decision that the superintendent has guided us through that decision-making process to ensure that our employees are not being deducted for any leave. Is that where your question was going, Trustee Singh?
I mean, that could be an example.
Okay.
I guess what I'm saying is we're in a new normal now, and my feeling is that we did abdicate a lot of our governance sort of oversight in the name of allowing superintendent to be more agile with decision making. And I guess I'm just wondering if we can start pulling some of that responsibility back to the board.
Yeah, I will say, Trustee Singh, that I think that what's going to be important is communicating with the superintendent in terms of what the board is feeling and the sentiment they're thinking about, whether it is time and a half, hero pay, what we heard tonight, and understanding what the will of the board is, or what their desires are, or what their questions are. I think it's going to be important to have that ongoing communication with the board and the superintendent so that we can begin to design around what some of the big pressure points might be. I also want to just remind us that we work with our employee organization to be able to come up with compensation plans and design with them as well. And so while it is the will of the board, ultimately the board makes that determination in terms of a vote, right? And certainly in the budget in June and so forth, we also partner with our organization to be able to ensure that we're hearing all the voices and that we're designing in partnership with our staff.
But if I go back, if I can just interrupt again, I apologize. But if I go back to the example, though, I would need to come back to the board when we're making decisions about paying folks that are on a quarantine leave. And so I think that just what I want to emphasize, Trustee Singh, is again, and I understand completely where you're coming from. It's very scary to have one person have that kind of authority that really is a board authority. And so I completely understand it, and we'll live with the will of the board. I do want to continue to emphasize that I would be bringing to you in a minimum a board update of where we have exercised the utilization of that authority that you would provide me. And I would ask you to just consider monitoring it as we would give you the reports, rather than seeking to try to remove it, because I do not know what's coming right now. And I don't have an idea of what I may be needing, and I would hate to not be able to respond quickly enough because I would need to bring it to the board. That's my only caution. Again,
I know, and I understand that. That's why I was trying to get a sense of like how disruptive would it be to your work if we were to strike some of these. So it sounds like it would cause some disruption. I do appreciate that you would be keeping us in the loop, and I would just hope that maybe before some of the big decisions we're at least informally consulted or in some way, shape, or form, however that would be legally allowed. So that would be great. I appreciate the time and the explanation. The other question I had is, back in March, when we first passed these resolutions, um, we also, it's not spelled out here, but we did suspend some of our operating practices as a board. And my fellow trustees are going to be shocked I'm going to bring this up. But board ops, our board operations meetings were one of the things that got suspended. And for those people who don't know, that's a meeting by our governing, or our officers, but then any other trustees can show up at those and be part of the discussion as we decide agenda items for upcoming meetings. We don't really discuss content, but it's more scheduling, and that's a way where people can advocate, like, hey, can we please consider putting this thing on the agenda or that thing on the agenda? It's also open to the public, and so we have suspended that for several months. And I'm at a point where I kind of feel like we need all hands on deck, and it kind of limits my ability, I feel like, as a trustee, to talk to other trustees about issues in the district, because we've got Open Meetings Act and all this other stuff. And so when I think about this critical time, I think that we do, like I said, we need all hands on deck, and I would really love to hear. I appreciate that our board president has heard me request this many times, and would love to give him the opportunity to share kind of like what is going to go into that decision making, and when might a decision be made about resuming the board operations meeting.
Sure. We have considered the request. I think we should go back and put this in context. When we, as you mentioned, when we first made this motion to suspend, it was in collaboration with our superintendent and administration. And they felt at the time that they did not have the resources during the pandemic crisis to both support all of the committees, which we have several committees of the board, in making sure that they were all open to the public and all open to all of the trustees. So to ensure that we met that concern from the administration, that clause was put in there so that we could suspend these things. So what we did was we said, well, look, the board work is the board's work around governance. So there are certain individual trustees that are assigned to each of the committees so that they can have and participate in those meetings. We're going to continue to do that work, but we're not going to require or ask the administration to do above and beyond resources. As you remember, they were all focused on standing up in 2 weeks online learning for our kids, trying to meet them where they're at. There was a lot of crisis that was going on at the time. And throughout the summer, that has been the case where the administration has said, well, we don't have the resources to both do everything that we're doing to make sure that we're doing reopening and all the other things that they've been doing, food delivery, Wi-Fi in buses throughout our community to make sure our kids are still accessing technology. And so we have not gone back to the administration nor to the board to ask them as a whole in terms of the will of the board. And so we plan to do that in the September, and I'm sorry, Trustee Ellens, can you remind me that there's a board retreat that's coming up that we could get the input of the will of the board. We're also, as you know, as you know, Dr. Elizalde has been with us for 13 days, and we plan to have a meeting this week with her talking about board processes. And this is actually one of the things that we're going to talk to her, is whether the administration has the resources to do that or not. And so again, to ensure that it's fairness across all of the committees or not, I think that's one of the questions that we have. And two, does the administration have the resources and the ability to support all of those committees as well? Because as you recall, this was a significant issue that was raised by the previous administration around how much resources were being taken to support all of the boards to be public. And so that has been kind of the response back. And I know there's two other trustees that have had their hands up for a little bit, but I wanted to make sure, Trustee Singh, that we answered the questions. You did? Okay, great. I just saw thumbs up. Trustee Wagner and Trustee Anderson.
I just wanted to comment on the characterization about this being the new normal. And the reason I think maybe I'm a little bit sensitive to that is that in my day job, I work in another branch of government, and I see the incredible strain that has been placed on the staff and in my day-to-day work. It has not let up since mid-March. There is no new normal. It is, I mean, it's really kind of mind-blowing to think about the workload that has been created by the pandemic, because there is so much complexity and ever-changing need that needs to be addressed at a time where we are resource constrained and not expanding staff, instead constricting. And so that is a huge challenge. And so I think as trustees and as stewards of the district, we need to be very mindful of the demands that we place on our administrative teams at this point in time. And I feel very strongly that whatever we can do to remove roadblocks to be able to get strong delivery of resources where they're needed most, when they're needed most, is something that we as a board need to support. I'm not in a place where I want to micromanage and get into the business of management of many of the items that are discussed in this. And I'm supportive of us moving forward with this as it is. And I think it's important for us to be able to place that trust in the superintendent to be able to deliver on this during a crisis time, because it's still a crisis time that hasn't let up.
Thank you, Trustee Wagner. Trustee Cindy Anderson had her hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple of brief comments. One, I absolutely agree with Trustee Wagner, because I think, right now the priority is, as Dr. Elizalde discussed earlier, preparing for the first 4 weeks and being able to collect data from the first 2 of those 4 weeks to determine how much of the additional 4 weeks we may or may not need with respect to virtual learning. And I don't want to do anything to inhibit that work, because I think the priority is ensuring that the health and safety of our students and staff is paramount, and that the staff has the time to focus on what is a very challenging lift, even in the best of times. And I also just wanted to add, the date on this resolution takes us to the end of that 2nd week. So that was done intentionally to give us time to reevaluate at that point in time, after we've gotten through potentially up to 8 weeks of virtual learning, to reevaluate and look for opportunities to, I don't want to misquote Trustee Singh, how to regain some of the authority that the resolution is being liberal to. And I will say, although you didn't mention procurement, or you mentioned everything but procurement that was in the one example, item 4, which is many of the other things that you were talking about, Trustee Singh, they actually utilize the procurement piece of that item. And it was in one of our other agenda items for this evening with respect to hotspots, I believe, Region 4. So we don't know what is going to come up. And while we are in many cases meeting weekly, by the time a decision has to be made, we may have already posted for something and not be posted for action. And so I think right now it behooves Dr. Elizalde to have the maximum amount of flexibility, and we can absolutely reevaluate that come November 2nd. And if we need to make a different decision at that time, we can certainly do that. But there's still a lot of unknowns at this point in time, and I'd like to support the superintendent in having that authority. Thanks.
Thank you, trustees. Any other discussion, comments? So hearing none, and having a motion by Trustee Teish and a second by Trustee Letitia Anderson to approve agenda item 12.2. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those against? All those abstaining? So let me just, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Trustee Anderson, how did you vote on that one? I'm sorry, I couldn't see you.
I voted for it. I couldn't.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Trustee Letitia.
Letitia is off the dais.
Oh,
The
okay.
one
I'm
I
sorry.
couldn't count was I didn't see trustee Singh's, which she voted for.
She voted against, if I'm correct. Is that right, trustee Singh? But I
You're on
can't.
mute.
Not as strong against, but a little against.
Duly noted. So I think that counted the motion is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 4, 0. Sorry, 7 for the motion, 1 against, and 0 abstaining.
Correct, with Letitia Anderson off the
With
dais.
Letitia Anderson, trustee Letitia Anderson off the dais. So the motion passes. So thank you all. Then we'll move on to the items for separate vote, and that would be do I have a motion to approve agenda item 13.2? Trustee Ellis?
We have 13.1 first.
13.1.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll recognize you, trustee Ellis.
So I believe it is our practice for me to read the resolution. That is 13.1 is a resolution exempting exemptions from certain attendance policies. So I move that we approve the resolution regarding attendance that reads as follows. Whereas on March 19th, 2020, the Texas governor issued executive order number GAOA relating to COVID-19 preparedness and mitigation, and through this action and in accordance with guidelines from the president, ordered the temporary closure of all Texas schools. Whereas on March 13th, 2020, Austin Independent School District began closure of the district to protect the health and safety of staff and students. Whereas in light of the pandemic health crisis, which resulted in a national and state order for sheltering in place, and a state order closing all schools within the state of Texas through May 4th, 2020, all students in the district were impacted. Whereas Austin Public Health and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have provided guidance for schools that includes limiting the capacity use of a building and allowing for social distancing of at least 6 feet when feasible. Whereas the Texas Education Agency has provided guidance on health and safety measures for students and staff who return to a campus. Whereas the Texas Education Agency has provided new rules and methods of delivery for providing and recording attendance for both asynchronous and synchronous online instruction. Whereas for the 2020-2021 school year, the district will provide both online and in-person options for students to attend school, where the online options will include both asynchronous and synchronous methods of instruction. Whereas the board finds that a need exists to temporarily adjust local policy provisions addressing student attendance tracking under these circumstances to ensure for accurate attendance taking and to provide for the health and safety of students and staff. It is therefore resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Austin Independent School District finds a substantial public purpose exists to temporarily modify board policy FEB and FC local for the 2020-2021 school year as follows. FEB attendance accounting. Number 1, an additional section will be added that states, quote, for students not attending on-campus classes where instruction is provided face-to-face, the following process will be used for taking attendance as long as is applicable under TEA guidelines. Synchronous instruction, official attendance will be taken at the time as in-person attendance for the campus based on students present in the online synchronous classroom. Asynchronous instruction, official attendance will be taken based on one of the following 3 criteria being met. 1, daily progress in blend. 2, daily progress through teacher interaction. Or 3, completion submission of assignments, unquote. FC school attendance areas. Number 1, an additional section will be added under school assignment, allowing for the temporary housing of a student on another campus outside of the attendance area of the domicile if the in-person attendance of a student may lead to exceeding the capacity limit advised by a local, state, or national health order, or if capacity is not available due to social distancing and closing off certain areas of a building. Number two, any temporary change to students' campus would be for in-person learning only, would not change or affect the student's actual school of attendance as identified in PEIMS data. This would not affect students' actual school, original tracking pattern, or alter the campus from which they would graduate. I guess I do adopted on this the 24th day of August 2020 by the Austin ISD Board of Trustees.
Trustee Ellens, if you're making the motion to approve that agenda item, 13 point resolution we just read, is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Tice seconded. Is there any discussion? Having a motion, oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Ashe, sorry. I see you. I see you.
Thank you. I'll try to be quick. I mean, granted, it's still only 11:15. We only have like 4 hours, right? We still have 4 hours of meeting left. Just kidding. I had a couple of questions about the FC school attendance areas, questions that are for clarification for people, because I think sometimes when we read these, it's hard for people or families to understand what that would mean to them personally. So I was hoping someone could provide an example of when, like a kind of real life example, if you will, of when a student may be moved to another campus according to this resolution change for FC school attendance area.
So I'm going to ask Dr. Reach and Mr. Segura to help with this because they have some real examples of possibilities that can happen. So Dr. Reach?
Yes, thank you so much, Board of Trustees. So first, I just want to mention that, our plan is to hopefully not use this policy. We want to keep students at the campus that they're currently assigned at, but we recognize because of health orders and the need to keep students and staff safe, keep 6 feet of social distancing whenever feasible, that there could be situations to where the number of students who want to return would exceed those percentages that we want to meet. And if we're at a period to where TEA is requiring us allowing students to return, we may need to look at this as a possible option to ensure that we're keeping safe distance, keeping safe capacity. So what we would look at is when, based off of the students who have high needs, assuming that they're already at the campus. So not thinking of moving those students, but students who may come in after that 4-week or 8-week period. And if they let us know that they want to return to an in-person setting or being on campus setting, that we will look at the capacity of the building, the ability for us to appropriately social distance within the classroom, within the grade level, whatever it may be, because it's a little different for elementary, middle, and high. And then determining, can we safely accommodate that student? And if not, then looking at, could we safely accommodate them at a close by facility? Understanding that our goal is also not to unintentionally over-enroll a nearby campus. So we're not moving one student from campus A simply to create an issue at campus B. It's trying to find where we know we have those spaces with lower capacity. Also looking at some of our properties that may have low to little capacity, such as our athletic buildings, Delco, some other areas that we have, that we could utilize to put students in a way where we know we can provide a safe environment for them. I'm going to ask Mr. Segura if he could explain a little bit more on how we're going to look at capacity as a number and how we'll actually measure that at our various campuses.
Thank you, Dr. Reach. Trustees, Matias Segura, Operations Officer for AISD. One of the things I always want to communicate whenever I possibly can is that the 25% building capacity is sometimes misleading, right? Because when we talk about students and we talk about how we want to set up classrooms to support them safely, we have to think about how many students we can support in a classroom, right? Each classroom, we have well over 5,000 of them in the school district, have different configurations, different types of furniture, different layouts, different access to corridors. So we really have to think about it from the classroom up, and we build a capacity based on a classroom grade level by grade level, because we recognize we can't move second graders into third grade classrooms if there's a third grade class occurring, even though there may be some space. So that's how we're going about building up the building capacities to maintain 6 feet of social distance between our students, and we're making it a requirement between staff. And so as we build these out, these numbers are provided to principals to assist them in planning. And then at any point we begin to encroach on that threshold, we plan and prepare for any solutions we have to make those accommodations. And this would obviously provide us some flexibility, though, as Jacob had said, it's not our preference to use if we can possibly avoid it.
So thank you for that. That's helpful. And I know capacity is an interesting adjective in and of itself. I did have a couple kind of additional follow-up questions. So is it possible for us moving forward, and you may or may not already have this figured out, how we would determine which students would move? Meaning if it's, is it done like on a first come first serve, or is it a lottery once you get over that number of capacity? And like I said, I know you may or may not have that figured out right now. And I guess the reason that I asked that question is, let's say we get down where we could have, say, 50% capacity, but then and so we have more students that come back onto campus, but then there is an increase or something like that where they bring back down us back down to 25%. How do we decide which of those students would need to then be moved off campus? And I don't want to tie you to an answer. If you happen to know it, great. That would be awesome. But if you need to give that information to us later as you're determining that, I also understand, but would like to get an answer to that question at some point.
Trustee Ashley, I think the most important thing that we would say is that if we know a student has specialized services that are going to be at the campus that they're already assigned to, that they're going to need to receive those services at that campus. Moving them, it may not be an option to say that a neighborhood campus will fit you better because of capacity. And we will look at that at a case-by-case basis. But for the most part, I think what we would see, again, hoping that this is not a situation that actually comes up, but if we have a campus who wants TAs requiring that we allow students who want to return, but we know that certain capacities are going to be safer for our students and staff, that those new students who want to come in at that point would be who we would be looking at. Could there be a nearby campus? But we do need to continue to understand that, discuss that with our team, more importantly, discuss that with our teachers and our principals. And we're still at the early stages of this, but we want it to be something that rarely happens, but when it does happen, it's something that's going to be in the best interest of that student and also protecting health and safety for all students and staff.
And if I could add, part of this is tied in with need notification from our parents when they're changing their mind from being virtual to face-to-face. Going from face-to-face to virtual is not nearly as challenging for the school organization. Like if that happens, especially because something could happen where some child may need to be at home when they were previously in a face-to-face situation. However, the reverse does create some issues with regard to the capacity numbers that Mr. Segura and Dr. Reach were just referencing. So that's why we want to do that, although we want to do it as quickly as possible. And I believe we've even created some wording where we work, if we can make it happen, different from other school districts. Most other school districts are relying on an entire grading period before they allow students to make a change. We were far more student-centered, and I don't mind saying that. We were far more student-centered, and our team really pushed against my initial recommendation of waiting for a grading period and said we needed to be more nimble than that. And so because of that, if we can do it within a week's time, we want to be able to make those changes. But a lot would be based on where we are with what percent allowed on each campus versus also how many students are already there. So I do think, Trustee Ashley, we have to be prepared for it. But I also think based on the mechanisms that are in place, it will be very, nothing's rare in these days because we're in a pandemic. So I wanted to use that word. I'm going to consider that an extremely rare last resort that we would end up having to send students to other campuses. And while Mr. Segura indicated, well, we wouldn't move a second grader to a third grade classroom, we certainly wouldn't in general, but if there were space available and we were still maintaining a virtual type of instruction, but in different locations, we might be able to make an adjustment based on whether we had teachers that were able to work together. And so we're going to explore all of that before we would resort to having students go to any different campus than what they were originally. We all know the less change we can provide during this extreme, the better off. And our team, I promise you, we never get there, but they know we have to be prepared in case we get there.
Got it. That's actually very helpful to know that this is a kind of an in case, similar to what we were talking about with the previous resolution around our COVID. Last two questions, and I think they'll be pretty fast. Will we be providing transportation in the event that a student would need to be moved to another campus?
Yes, in almost any situation we would be.
Okay.
Obviously, if parents want to take their student, that would be an option.
And then the last one, and I think you've answered it, Dr. Elizalde, so this is more of just let me make sure I heard it correctly, is that if a student is in, I'm going to use the example I said of where we've gone up to 50% capacity, but now we've been restricted back down to 25% and some students need to be moved. Would parents potentially at that time have the option to go back to online learning instead of moving to another physical campus if that were something they wanted or desired? That's what I think I heard you say, but I just wanted to double check.
That is exactly what you heard me say in a different way. But yes, we always want to maintain the students with their cohort of teachers, if you will. And if I'm assigning them to a different campus, now we have a whole other kind of situation. And so wherever, I think the first thing we would want to do is let's say we do end up in that situation where we are at 50% capacity and suddenly the health department moves us back to stage 4 and only have 25%. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to say to parents, we really need you all to see who can do a job of returning back to virtual so we don't have to send to any neighboring campuses. And I still think that when we reach out to each individual about how this is affecting the whole community at the school, I really feel confident that our parents and community members would say, you know what, I can do it that way for a while. And so until we could get it, back under control. So if we did end up there, we would absolutely start with that before we would go to moving students to another neighboring school.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Trustee Ashley. Trustee Ellens, you had your hand up.
Heard you say this before, Trustee Ashley. It's nice to go after other trustees who ask all the great questions. You asked almost everyone that I was going to ask. There is a word in the resolution that says they may go to another campus. And I just wanted to, because the example you gave, Dr. Reach, was maybe they'd go to Delco, which is that word campus a problem? Because I don't think of Delco as a campus. And so I've also heard maybe there are partners, churches perhaps, or nonprofits who are offering up buildings during the day. And so I was wondering, are those potential landing sites?
As far as the word campus, I will need to double check to make sure that we're not limiting ourselves, because our thought is that we know we have properties, like I mentioned, Delco is the example, that could serve as locations. But I believe that this would still allow us to do it because it's a district property. But also same with partner properties. We are very lucky to have amazing partners here in the city of Austin, Travis County, but also churches, nonprofits who have reached out to us wanting to know how they can help, wanting to know how they could use space that they have that may not be used. We need to understand how use of that space may allow us to make sure that the safety standards that we want for our students and staff are being met. And so that's work that still needs to be done. But we are very appreciative of those offers, and that's on our mind while we're trying to think through these options.
So, I mean, I know business organizations call their headquarters campuses. So I don't think it's limiting it, but I did just kind of want to ask. That's it.
I haven't heard either legal counsel chime in yet, so I'm hoping that we're good with the language as written.
Thanks.
Thank you. Trustees, any other questions? And Dr. Reach, did you want legal to chime in here, or are we good?
Ms. Jansen, are you able to let us know if the use of the word campus would limit us in the use of our property or even potential other property?
I think if you're going to say campus, you might want to expand it a little bit to say campus or facility. That might give you a greater latitude if that's what you're seeking.
So Secretary Ellens, you made the motion. So is that amendment amenable to you?
I think Secretary Type. Oh no, I did make the motion. Sorry. It is amenable.
And you promoted Anne.
So having a motion by Secretary Ellens and a second by Trustee Teich to approve agenda item 13.1 as amended, adding the language or facility to campus. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion passes by all those on the dais. Vice President Anderson, do you have a motion to approve agenda item 13.2?
Yes, I make a motion to approve agenda item 13.2.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on item 13.2? Hearing none. All those in favor, having a motion by Vice President Anderson and a second by Trustee Teich to approve agenda item 13.2. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. You just keep them up for just one more second. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All those against and all those abstaining. So the motion passes 7-4-0 against and showing Trustee Ellens as abstaining. Secretary Ellens, do you have a motion to approve agenda item 13.3?
I move approval of agenda item 13.3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Having a motion by Secretary Ellens and a second by Trustee Ashe to approve agenda item 13.3. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those against? All those abstaining? Okay, so the motion passes with a vote of 7-4-0 against and 1 abstaining, showing Trustee Wagner abstaining on that vote. Secretary Ellens, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Having a motion by Trustee Ellens and a second by Trustee Teich to adjourn. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. And the motion passes by all those on the dais. The meeting is now adjourned at 11:31 p.m. Thank you. Good night.
Great.